Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm here with my co-host, Lydia.
Hi, everybody.
And you're listening to a brand new episode of Call Kevin.
It's the Call Kevin podcast. It's the podcast of your dreams. It's the Call Kevin podcast. Come and ask him things. Podcast Kevin with Call Kevin. Here's Kevin and Lydia.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. It's the Thanksgiving season.
Oh, it is. We have so much to be thankful for.
Do we? That's what we say.
I know. We say that. Do we mean it?
I do. No, I'm thankful for things.
What are you thankful for, Kevin?
Well, I'm so thankful for TikTok fame.
Yeah, as you should be.
No, I was half joking, but I'm super grateful for the path of my life, you know, and just like the unexpected turn of events. I have people like what I say. I'm so grateful after all this time that I feel like my purpose is to bring some happiness into the world. I'm way into it.
Good.
What are you thankful for?
Well, I'm thankful for a lot of things, but I'm thankful for you, and I mean that. Like, you and I sit on my couch and do this, like, all the time.
Yeah.
But the fact that we're getting to do it now.
I know.
For reals, and people are listening, and yeah, so it's great. And you and I've, we've worked together a lot. We've collaborated, and I'm just grateful for that partnership.
Oh, I'm grateful for you.
Oh my gosh, there's a little love fest to start the day.
Before we dive into our questions, I want to shout out a couple of my upcoming shows. The remaining shows for this year, I have a show in Albany, New York, Syracuse, New York. Last show of the year is in Michigan City, Indiana. And then spring of next year, I'm going to the UK, London, Cambridge, Brighton, Oxford, Salford. Those tickets are already on sale. And we're going to add so many new shows for 2023. We're just getting started. You can always go to my website, kevinjamesthornton.com, to find out details, what cities we're adding. If I'm coming to a city near you, I would love to see you in person. Please call our Call Kevin hotline at 323-364-0881.
323-364-0881.
Leave us a message, a question, or a comment that we'll use on a future episode of Call Kevin.
Absolutely, ask us anything.
Yeah.
We're brave. We'll answer it if we want to.
Yeah, and if we don't, we won't. So let it rip. And you can use that same number on WhatsApp if you're not in the United States, 323-364-0881. Record a voice note and just send it on WhatsApp. That'll work too, and that's totally free worldwide.
So my fondest dream and desire for you, Kevin, is that you come back from the UK speaking in a British accent.
I'm sure I will.
I think
like
you
a
will.
weird, terrible British accent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, like I matey. Oh no, that's Australian. I don't know.
What was that? I'm not really prone to I know some people are prone to picking up the way people speak around them, but I'm not really prone to doing that. Are you?
Oh my gosh, I'm a parrot.
Are you?
Absolutely. And I also tend to pick up other people's mannerisms if I'm around them and their phrases. And moments ago, before we started this podcast, I went to drop something and I went, "Oh my God." And that's you.
Oh, I say that all the time.
You say that all the time. But I was like, oh, that was Kevin. Yeah, no, I pick up people's little catchphrases. And yeah, absolutely.
That's funny. I'll speak just like this when I get back from England.
All right. From jolly old England.
Yes. You ready to take some calls?
Let's do.
Let's do it.
Hey, Kevin. As an artist, have you ever had trouble finding an audience? And what did you do to get past that, if you did? Because I'm having a lot of issues with that. And it kind of sucks because it feels like your art's invalid or something. I don't know. Just any thoughts on that? Thanks.
It's kind of funny what I started saying at the top of the show being what I was grateful about. Because most of my life was a struggle to find an audience, and this is just kind of, the struggle of the artist's life, I guess, whatever it is you're doing. You want it to be out of passion and love for the art. But in a lot of, especially like performing art, stand-up comedy, acting, like those art forms require, well, they don't require, but there sort of needs to be an audience on the receiving end of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it can get frustrating over a long period of time if it seems like there's no one on the other end receiving the thing you're performing or doing. I know that feeling so well.
But I think the thing about you, Kevin, and I think it's probably the best advice, you never gave up. And and it would be easy. It would be easy to you took some different journeys, some different paths. You've created a lot of different kinds of art. But you've always been really good at the business end of it, which not all artists are. And I think artists probably need to learn that it is, it's show business, as they like to say. But also, you never gave up.
I know. I agree, and also feel a little bit of a phony if I didn't say, yes, over the entire arc, I never gave up. But there were many moments in there where I did give up for a minute. Like just out of frustration or being tired. I have lots of moments where I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to do this anymore. I can't go on. I'm so tired. And then I would rest for a minute, and then I'd get back up and keep moving. And even saying that you think I'm good at the business end of it, that was also over just a long period of time of got to make it work. Somehow I got to make it work. I got to figure it out and make it work. And I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to somehow, there was something inside of me, and I think it's connected to the religious trauma that we talk about a lot, because when I left my church world, I didn't have much of an identity. Like when I left that world, I felt kind of like my worldview was shattered and broken, and I'm sort of like out into the world with this need to prove myself or something. I've never quite totally unpacked it, but I know there's something connected to something inside of me was driving me to like prove that I could make it without Jesus.
Yeah.
Or something, if that makes sense. But as far as the caller, yes, I relate. And it's just, it's one of those things where there's no right answer. I think that you have to search for your happiness. That's something that a lot of artists brush to the side. And they're like, you know what, I'll be happy later. Right now I've got to make this dream work. And then at some point I think you have to ask yourself, is the dream getting in the way of you leading some sort of peaceful existence?
Yeah, for sure. I through a mutual friend in L.A., I met the woman who played the grandmother on the Waltons. I can't remember her name, but that came to her very late in life. And I was in L.A. at that point pursuing an acting career. And I remember her saying to me that we are, as artists, are often wired up thinking there's going to be a big break, and you're just living every day. When's my big break coming? And she said, Lydia, that's not how it happens. She goes, most careers are made up of a lot of little victories, and you have to celebrate every single one of those. And she said, eventually all those little victories add up to something that, your break, but that living for a moment of a big break is sort of detrimental to you as an artist.
Yeah. I see that over the course of many years of doing lots of different performing arts things. I got to a point, I think I've maybe talked about this on the show, I can't quite remember. In my as I was nearing 40 was like the age I picked of, I was so scared of being like a failed loser artist at 40. And then I sort of was that in a way. I don't view it that way now, but I think I sort of became the man I feared I would become. I was so broke. I had this terrible car. It was a Chevy Beretta. Like everything I owned was in the trunk. I would stay with you a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, and I went through I went through a phase looking back now that I was on the verge of homelessness, maybe even homeless, because I was living in a falling apart car, sleeping in your spare bedroom sometimes, sort of relying on the kindness of friends to make it.
Yeah.
And I entered a phase of life after that where I realized I wasn't happy. I'd given my whole life to dream pursuit, and I was kind of miserable about it. And I started to live differently over many years throughout my 40s. And the surprise ending for me is the TikTok and then Instagram explosion. I didn't see that coming. I didn't know it was coming. And I'd sort of backed off from needing that so badly.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times people say, oh, it's when you stop looking, that's when it happens. Yeah. And that's not exactly how I feel. I stopped looking because I didn't need it anymore. And that kind of shifted my energy. I feel like my journey is common to any artist's heart. And I don't want to say like, it'll happen for you too. It happens differently for everybody, whatever it is. And that's why I say you have to keep searching for your happiness within the art form.
Also, I think there was probably no part of you until it happened that realized that your audience would come from TikTok or from Instagram. And so, maybe just a moment of advice is try something new, try something different. You know, if you're doing the same thing over and over again and you're not getting the results you want, the world is so different now and there's so many different ways to find an audience. And so maybe try something new.
Yeah, and my last thought on that is I've said in the past, when I was younger, I wanted to be a musician, a singer, things that I think that I'm okay at some of that. But now after all this time, I feel like my strength is, it's something unexpected. I thought it had to be, I wanted a music career. And I so don't want that anymore at this phase in my life. I found this other path of just expressing myself to people is like my weird superpower. But like I never would have thought I'm going to make a career of getting on stage and just saying my feelings.
Yeah.
What?
I know. Crazy, right?
But that's, now that it's happening, I'm like, oh, yeah, of course. But I didn't see that coming.
Yeah. None of us did.
Yeah.
Let's take another
Let's
question.
do it.
Hey, Kevin. My name is Leah, and I'm calling from Virginia. I have a question for you. I'd like to ask your advice on how to be more creative in my life. I work as a writer. I write for a living, and while that sounds like that would be a nice creative outlet, it's on a lot of dry topics and not very exciting stuff. But I know that being more creative in my free time would be very good for me, but I have this inner critic that always pops up and says, oh, you're going to make a mess, or, oh, you're never going to actually do that. It's just going to take up space in the house. And, so like I have a ukulele that's just sitting in a trunk unplayed, and I've got, a couple of like watercolor sets that people gave me to encourage me to be more creative, or that I bought for myself and just never did anything with. So you're a creative guy. You do all kinds of different things. And so I thought you might have some good advice for me about how to quiet that inner critic and get creative the way kids do instead of constantly, talking myself out of it. So let me know what you got.
Boy, negativity, that is the end of creativity. We learn that in taking improv classes. If somebody brings an idea forward, you never say no. You can say yes and, and also. But I think, quieting that inner critic, boy, that's a journey that all of us artists have been on. But I think you have to take away that negativity of, I'm never going to do that, or that's going to make a mess, or you have to approach all of those things with a positive attitude.
Yeah, she said the word inner critic like 2 or 3 times, and it's like she already knows that's the problem, like how do I get around that? I'm going to sound like an asshole right now. I don't really.
Now.
Right. This is my. I hear when people talk about that inner critic thing, and I understand it. I don't really have that inner critic, and I don't mean that in like a conceited way. that might be part of the thing that's allowed me to go on for so long. Is not like I think I'm amazing at everything, but I think when I hear people talk about they want to try something new, but something inside them says to stop, or you don't know what you're doing, I kind of blast forward and do it anyway. And so I don't, the thing that I hear people talking about, I don't quite have it. And I fully admit that it's delusional. You know what I mean? Like whether you have I think it's a spectrum of like you have a harsh inner critic that's like telling you to stop, you're not good at, you can't do this, or the way maybe other end of that spectrum is completely delusional. You think you can do anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not saying I'm that. Like I don't, I'm somewhere. Oh, I'm somewhere.
Right in front of my microphone.
I'm somewhere in the middle.
You know, I don't think I have that inner critic either, now that I think about it. I mean, a few years ago, I was in Santa Cruz, California, and it's the ukulele capital of the world, if you didn't know that. And I knew lots of people who played ukulele. And I was like, that looks like fun. I want to do that. Ended up actually buying a really nice ukulele. Some time ago, I played for you, and you said I actually, played very well for somebody who I'd never played any kind of a stringed instrument. Mm-hmm. And I did it for myself. I mean, when I'm there, occasionally some people will get together and we'll play. Normally, I just play in my living room for my own entertainment. But I was like, well, that looks like fun. So I kind of feel like I don't really think I have that either. I think I've always believed that I could. Now, if I'm not super good at something, I probably don't keep doing it.
Yeah, you said that in the past. Like if you try something new, but you feel like, do you not get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm not good at this now, but I could be?
I think if I try long enough and I'm still not good at it,
okay,
then I stop. And that's probably not a good practice. But I do think I have that. I don't think if I try it once and I'm not good at it, but if I'm going to do something, I want to be successful at it.
Yeah. I think for someone, if you're like, because we get something like this occasionally where someone's like, how do I be more creative? How do I get around like the inner critic of telling me to stop? I think I also want to ask what is driving you that feels like you need to unlock some deeper creative thing? Or I almost feel like it's tied together in a cycle mm-hmm. with an inner critic that you're trying to get around. Mm-hmm. And I think the answer is probably, this is maybe way too deep and I don't know what I'm really talking about, but it seems like the answer is outside of that cycle. It's how do I be more creative? How do I get around my inner critic? And those two things are kind of locked together. What is that struggle? Mm-hmm. What are you trying to get around? What are you trying to resolve?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's probably very true. Very true. So maybe a little self-reflection about that.
Yeah.
Might help
ask
unlock
yourself
you a little
why.
bit.
Yeah. And then, I think it might, I would hope that you could find some relief in hearing someone like myself say, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know that anyone does. I just don't have, I'm not blocking myself. It's not, it might be easy to look at other artists and be like, wow, they know what they're doing. Not really.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone really does. Some people are just less harsh on themselves than others. Mm-hmm. Some people are fully delusional.
Yes.
Some people are way too critical. We've really talked a long time about something that I'm not really certain about any of the things we've said.
Well,
take all of this with a grain of salt.
Yes, and a shot of tequila.
Yes.
Let's take some calls.
Hey, Kevin. It's Toasty here from Toasty Vision at TikTok, or on TikTok. Anyway, I just wanted to say I'm a new follower, and I love the idea of your new podcast, and I can't wait to hear it. And I would like to get your thoughts on cannabis. I'm a new follower, like I said, so if you've covered this up before, I apologize. But I am a cannabis user as medically, to keep my off the hinges and, stabbing people with spoons and whatnot. Anyway, so I just wanted to get your thoughts. I love you. Stay toasty, my friend, and I can't wait to hear your podcast.
I don't know if I have thoughts. I smoke the devil lettuce.
The Mary Jane.
Yes. It's so weird to live in a country where like half the place it's legal and the other half it's not. And like, so many people have made the analogy of it's probably better for you than alcohol, which I would agree with. It's definitely like less harsh on your body, you know. How could anyone be against marijuana in 2022?
I know.
It would be so old fashioned. Like your beliefs about it would have to be just based on some weird 1950s idea.
Yeah, or, you watched Reefer Madness one too many times. But, I mean, think about that. Think about that movie. That was the hysteria at that point where if you smoked it, it was going to, make you do terrible things or stab people with spoons. And now it's helping people not stab people with spoons.
Is the political reason to stand against it just to, like, rile up an old-fashioned base?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
And I would think that most of the people who are against it haven't tried it.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's
and they're
that.
holding on to some old belief about it. When I had a show a while back in Portland, and across from my hotel was a dispensary that I had not quite so I know in some places you have to have like a prescription or something, but this was just a full-on weed store across from my hotel. So I went over there, and they had little gummy things, and I've had edibles before and gummy things, but these were like, they had like the milligrams on it of how much was in it. It was very
important.
Well done. Yeah. And I had never really looked at like what milligrams mean, or, like I'm not that in the know about edibles. So I don't even quite remember exactly what I bought. I just picked one and bought it. And I went back to my hotel room and I started to Google how many, I just put how many, and then Google auto-completed gummies is safe to take at once. Like, how did it know that that's what I was going to ask?
Because it's always listening.
Yeah, I know. It like fully completed the sentence and knew what I was going to ask. And I think I didn't read it closely enough or whatever, so I just ate all of them.
Oh.
I mean, it didn't seem like there were that many. It was like a tiny little square, but I just kind of ate the whole thing. And I got unpleasantly stoned. I'm not prone to getting paranoid or anything, but I laid down and it felt like for a solid 6 hours that I could not move my body. And it just got old. Like I'm sure it wasn't that long. It was probably like an hour. But I was like, oh God, I'm going to sit up. Here I go. I'm going to sit up. And then I just couldn't. Like I couldn't move. And I remember in the hotel room, there was this weird painting over the TV. And I was just kind of like frozen, staring at this weird hotel painting for a very long time. I just couldn't move. It was not fun.
No, it's not fun. You have to be really, really careful with edibles. And there is no, benchmark. So you sort of don't know exactly what you're getting. And who knows if all the, THC went to the gummy bear's head, I mean, seriously.
Well, I think the more well-made stuff, they're getting it down to a more predictable thing. But
I think you start with a little, and it takes a while to kick in. So you take a little, and then you wait. Be patient, like an hour. And then you decide, how stoned am I? Do I need more? But I feel like there's a patience that is necessary with an edible, because we've all gotten too high on an edible before.
Yes. Now, the more fun time I got high on an edible, I was laying in bed, and I was very, very stoned. But I decided I was going to watch the movie Contact with Jodie Foster.
Oh,
do you remember that movie? And Matthew McConaughey?
Yes.
Where they like go to outer space. And for some reason, it turned into like the funniest thing I'd ever seen in my life. And anytime Jodie Foster would react to anything, my like super stoned brain just had a meltdown. I was like laying in bed just crying, laughing at Jodie Foster just reacting to Matthew McConaughey. And then, I mean, if you've seen that movie, most of the movie is this like quiet, thoughtful reflection. And then the last 30 minutes are insane. She goes down a wormhole and she goes to another dimension, and there's her dad is an alien. And
she's on a beach. It's all weird.
In like outer space. But those 30 minutes, I was just uncontrollably sobbing with laughter because it had just like built up already. I was already giggling at Jodie Foster. And then when she went down the wormhole, I was a total mess.
Did you cry?
Not from of
Oh,
laughter.
of laughter.
Of laughter.
Okay.
It was
Okay.
just the most ridiculously funny thing I'd ever seen in my life. I mean, it wasn't. I was just very stoned.
And see, there's edibles at their best.
Yes.
They can be fun. Go slow.
Yes.
Now for some advertising.
Hello, everybody. My name is Terrell, aka Minty Bongwater, and I am here to talk about my tea brand, Minty. I have 5 different kinds of tea that are hand blended with a lot of love and intention. I have a mango hibiscus tea, blueberry coconut, apple cinnamon, pina colada, and watermelon mint. All of these teas can be purchased at mintybongwater.com/tea. Once again, that's mintybongwater.com/tea.
Let's take some calls.
Hi, Kevin. My name is Angie, and I love you, and I love your podcast. I was calling because I also was raised in a very fundamentalist church, and I was allowed to stop going when I was 17 and pregnant. And it's funny because my dad told me that I could stop going because he didn't want to be embarrassed. However, he'd already been kicked out of the church for being a bad husband. Now, we also had, I mean, it wasn't that big a group, but at least 4 of us were pregnant before we were out of high school. My question is, did you have scandals in your youth group? Was there any disappearances of young pregnant girls? I don't think the talk I got about not having sex before marriage because God doesn't want you to work. Well, I know it didn't work. Anyway, thank you and love you guys. Bye.
I was the scandal.
You were.
I mean, if you want to hear a scandalous youth group story, you should listen to my other podcast called American Queer. It's on my website, or you can search it on any podcast platform, American Queer. It's a 12-episode storytelling series about my youth group scandal. Teen pregnancy, all that stuff, man, it's like, it's so backwards, like teaching like purity culture to teenagers, kind of like keeping them uneducated about sex does not give you the result that they're hoping for. It backfires.
Absolutely. And I think, talking about pregnancy prevention is probably, safe sex, the pill.
Just learning how
Use a
it works.
condom.
Just medically how it
something.
works.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know what you're doing.
And if you withhold all that information, I mean, I knew there were girls in high school that got pregnant and didn't really understand how it happened. That's just frightening because they weren't educated. And we didn't do our high school. We had a moment in our maybe senior year. God, could have been senior year. They took all the boys to one room. They took all the girls to the other room. And we got like an hour of sex education. But it really wasn't good information. It wasn't really helpful because I think I was in a small Texas town, and I think they were afraid of, telling us too much because then maybe we'd want to go do it or something. I don't know.
Surprisingly, I remember a full-on sex education class my 7th grade year. It was more than once. It was like a class that we went to multiple times. And in my memory was a good informational thing. I'd forgotten about that until you just brought that up. In my church had this, I can't remember what it was called, but it was some sort of like teen crisis center that they would take girls who had gotten pregnant to talk them out of abortion and, show them the other options. But they had these little tiny plastic fetuses that were supposedly like representative of like what a fetus looks like at 12 weeks or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I had one of those plastic fetuses. And people are often surprised to see pictures of me in that era because I wore a biker jacket. I had really long hair. Like looking like you were in a rock band was very, it was approved in my church. We thought it was like a way to witness to people or to like look relatable or cool, or it made people want to come to church. But in my biker jacket, in the breast pocket, was a little tiny baby plastic fetus that I carried around with me to remind myself of the sanctity of life.
Oh, okay. So you were carrying it as a don't have sex with girls because this could happen? Was it that?
No, I don't. I mean, the logic is very confused of why I thought it was a good thing to remind myself of what a fetus looks like at 12 weeks.
Okay. I'm happy it was in your breast pocket because I thought you were going to say you wore it as an earring. And I was going to be a little disturbed.
That's not
by
completely
that.
out of the question. We had some weird ideas. I probably could have justified, like, showing the fetus to the world.
Yeah.
You know, because it would have been like those bracelets. We wore bracelets that had different colored beads on them. I don't know if this is familiar to you. They were like it was like a white bead, a green one, a red one. It told a story. It's so silly because the idea was it was like a witnessing tool. Like you wore this to school and someone was going to be like, what does your bracelet mean? And then you could be like, well, the white bead stands for, and then it was like a way to tell someone about Jesus, which no one is like, tell me about those beads. No one does that. But a fetus
would have been a conversation starter.
People would have been like, tell me about that 12-week fetus dangling from your ear.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you missed a great opportunity to witness. Yeah. Let's take another call.
Hi, Kevin. This is Val in Salt Lake City, Utah. I have noticed on your TikToks that you've referenced Showbiz Pizza a couple of times. And this has left me very curious, and I need your insight. I know you're probably getting lots of phone calls, but this is of paramount importance, and you should disregard all the other phone calls and address mine. In any case, my very first job at 16 years old in the 80s was at Showbiz Pizza. And I find myself as an adult thinking about my time there a weird amount. And I need to, unpack my experiences, anywhere from Marie Osmond accidentally throwing a dart at me in the carnival games section to almost being run down in traffic while wearing the Billy Bob, the birthday bear suit, to ultimately being let go because, quote, my face wasn't friendly enough. Anywho, I would like to know how Showbiz Pizza has permeated your consciousness enough for you to reference it all these years later. Please help me unpack my trauma. So thanks, Kevin. Love your stuff. You're amazing.
Did you have a Showbiz Pizza in Texas?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah?
And it was big happenings when it opened in Wichita Falls because it was sort of the fanciest thing that had happened.
The fanciest thing?
Yeah. There was it was pizza and games, and then there was that band.
It's an unusual concept,
that
for sure.
animatronic band, which really at the root of it was a little frightening.
Mm-hmm.
But we took my niece, Alana, there for her birthday. She was like maybe 6 or something. And if it was your birthday, you could tell them. And then the band would sing, they say it's your birthday.
Yeah, I remember.
Right? So they sang that song to her. When we got home, I said, hey, Alana, I want to play you something because we're a family of music. And she had a very good music education growing up about, different kinds of music and bands. So we put on the Beatles playing that song, and she listened very attentively. And at the end of it, she said, I think I like the original band better. And it just broke mine and my brother's heart. But I've always thought about that. But yeah, no, we had definitely had a Showbiz
That's funny.
Pizza.
If you're listening and you don't know, you probably are familiar with Chuck E. Cheese, and it's the same concept. I feel like maybe, I don't know this, but it seems like maybe Showbiz was the first incarnation that turned into Chuck E. Cheese, maybe? Because that was also a pizza restaurant with the weird animatronic band.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had Showbiz Pizza, and with there was like the gorilla at the keyboard.
Yeah, gorilla.
And at my Showbiz, his eye was always broken. So we had like one eye. He was like playing, but his one eye was always closed. But there wasn't, I've said this before, there wasn't a whole lot to do in my small town. And we were like full on, like seniors in high school going to Showbiz Pizza just because it was there was skee ball.
Yeah.
You could win tickets and then you could trade in your tickets for like a slap bracelet.
Oh, yeah.
Or, I had my car in my senior year of high school. The back seat was full of prizes that I had won at Showbiz Pizza playing skee ball.
Did you give them away to people or did you just hoard them all?
No, I hoarded them.
Okay.
I wanted my car to be an experience.
Oh, I see.
When you got into my car, there were little plastic dinosaurs. It's back to my obsession with Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted my car to feel like Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Interesting.
And I did that by furnishing it with junk toys that I won at Showbiz Pizza.
And little baby plastic fetuses.
Little baby plastic fetuses lived with the plastic dinosaurs.
Yeah, like they do.
In the magical land of my backseat.
Now, I have 2 questions for our caller.
Okay.
Why was he wearing the bear costume outside of Showbiz Pizza? Because he said he got caught driving in it? Like, was he taking it home?
Yeah, it seems like he would leave it at work. I have no idea.
And also, those were animatronic. So were there also? I don't remember costumed characters.
Yes. So there was. I remember there was a costumed character that would come out between animatronic band performances.
Okay.
So
Okay. Yeah.
you could get your picture taken with was it Billy Bob? Was that the bear?
Yeah, that was the bear. That's what he said.
Yeah. I remember someone in a costume.
Okay. So now, if you're in a costume and you're Billy Bob and you're greeting people, how to get fired for not having a friendly face if you had a mask on?
All right. This story isn't adding up.
I know. It's like, I don't know.
Did you even work at Showbiz Pizza? Showbiz imposter.
I know, right? Let's take another call.
Hi, Kevin. This is Radha. I'm calling from Baltimore, Maryland, and I had a question about what to do about my cat. My cat's name is Poe, and every time I try and do yoga, he starts to bite me and climb on my back. So, like, when I'm in downward dog, he's on top of me and then won't let me stand up. I don't know what to do about this. Please help. Thank you.
My cat also doesn't like it when I do yoga. Well, it's not that he doesn't like it. He just makes it very difficult to do. When I get into the downward dog position, one of my cats gets right underneath me, and it's kind of funny. Because I'm, if he's looking at me sort of upside down, he'll get on his back and he'll flip his head upside down to look at me, so my head isn't turning the right way. But he's just like very in the way when you're trying to do yoga. It's just it's a cat thing they don't like.
They don't like dogs.
Right. So they see you doing the downward dog, they're not into it.
That's right. So there's a cat pose of some sort, like, isn't there like a cat pose where you like arch your back?
Yes.
Well, maybe you should try a cat pose.
Oh.
See?
That's what it is.
That's what it is, I think.
Okay. Is that all the questions? Did we do all of them?
I think so. I think that's all of our questions. Yeah.
Well, you guys, we did it again.
I know. Another one.
Solved the world's problems.
Number 5, right? This was
I don't know.
episode 5. I don't know.
It's all a blur.
We've lost track.
Yeah.
But it's been fun. Oh, episode 5. Yeah.
Oh, great.
So there you go. All right. Well, if you would like to have your question answered by us, any question, no subjects off topic, ask us, your burning questions. Call us at 323-364-0881.
323-364-0881.
Call us. Ask us a question. We'll answer it.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. As always, you can go to my website, kevinjamesthornton.com. Check out my upcoming shows, my merch store. I've added a ton of holiday merch. Put this in your stocking. Thanks for listening. Have a great week. Until next time.
Okay. We'll be back next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Is it called Kevin?